Leslie Warbaugh.
What a special, special evening, folks. Thank you so much for attending our 2020 Trends to Watch presentation. You know, let me just pause for a second. Looking around the room, I just see so many familiar faces, great colleagues, even better friends. Thank you so much for being here. And the best part is for you guys, CES 2020 starts tonight. Can we celebrate that? All right? It's true. And Leslie, hey, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about, don't we?
We have a whole lot to cover in 45 minutes to do so. So Steve, we should probably get started.
Okay, I'm Leslie's boss, but as you can tell, she really gives the orders.
Usually.
All right. Well, let's start with a question. Because when you come to CES, where a lot of people are looking for perspective, so here's some good stuff. So when we look across the consumer technology industry and the overall ecosystem today, how can we describe that dynamic? So I want you to think about hardware and other devices, software, apps, even content, media, entertainment, these things, social media. How can we describe the dynamic? Well, in the previous decade, I think the answer would be probably IoT, the Internet of Things. And of course, this is a term that we're all intimately familiar with, for better or worse, but we invoke routinely in business conversations and technology descriptions. But folks, what's happening now in this new decade, and what can we expect to happen as the next 10 years unfolds? Well, I think the answer is that we're increasingly confronted with an entirely new IoT, and that is the intelligence of things. Let me say that again. This new IoT is the intelligence of things. And maybe the best part is we don't have to use a new term. We can still say IoT, but we just mean something a little bit different, don't we? And this new IoT, the intelligence of things, bears testimony to the extent that artificial intelligence is permeating every facet of our commerce and our culture. Now, commerce is pretty well understood, and we endorse that as we want to advance our economies around the world. The culture, that's really interesting. As a researcher, to me, that's really interesting. Why? Because we're talking about technology's influence on human behavior. Really interesting, and those narratives will certainly be present at CES 2020 and will continue to unfold as we move forward in this new decade. Happy New Year, by the way. Leslie, but it's true, as much as we're adding intelligence across the technology ecosystem and the broader economy, we're still pushing ahead on that connectivity agenda, aren't we?
Yeah, that's right. So 5G is one of those ingredient technologies that is really powering the intelligence of things. Kicking off the decade, we're seeing over 50 networks worldwide deploying their networks with 5G capability. Special to CES this year, we're going to be joined by Cristiano Amon, who is Qualcomm's president, this Wednesday for a special CES super session where he'll discuss all of the exciting activities happening in this new world of 5G. Now, according to our CTA forecast, 5G handset shipments are starting to roll out really in 2020. So 2020 is an inaugural year for 5G-enabled handsets. And by 2022, we're expecting the market to actually essentially flip. So 2/3 of the market will instead switch from this 4G focus to a 5G focus for handsets. And as you can see, and as I was speaking about on the other slide, as more and more carriers roll out their 5G capabilities, more and more handsets are doing so. So this narrative is going to continue over the next few years.
That's exactly right. And it gets better. Because as those networks continue to propagate across the nation, around the world, what's really interesting, and this is where you're going to want to lean in a little bit because this is really important to understand, is that as those networks grow and propagate, we're going to unlock more and more potential for the enterprise. Now 5G, everybody knows that this is the 5th wireless generation, but did you know that it is also the first wireless generation that will eventually be led by enterprise applications? And we can describe these enterprise applications across commercial and industrial sectors really and attribute them to two main sectors here on the screen. So massive IoT and critical IoT. Now, what the heck do these things mean? Well, think about massive IoT as those applications where we have lots and lots and lots of endpoints, but little bits of data. Now, maybe that's a temperature reading or a simple on-off orientation. Critical IoT, on the other hand, really deals with fewer endpoints, but orders of magnitude above just massive levels of data. So what that looks like is in a scenario where we might have a patient remote that is being operated on by a physician who's remote. So that would involve robotics, maybe 4K, maybe 8K video, maybe virtual reality. That's a pretty heavy lift data-wise, which is why also critical IoT applications tend to be described in more technical terms as URLLC applications, or ultra reliable low latency communications. So now you see why it's just easier to say critical IoT. But in any case, again, as these networks propagate, we unlock more and more potential for the enterprise. And as Leslie said, this 5G narrative is just going to continue to unfold as we move forward throughout this decade. Not only in the consumer space, because that's where a lot of the initiatives are starting today as we bridge from 4G, but as we move forward in 2021, 22, 3, we're going to hear and we're going to see more and more of these enterprise applications. And those narratives start here at CES 2020 at the threshold of this new decade. And to illustrate this point, what we really want to talk about is how these industrial, commercial applications really fit into an economic sector that you might not really associate with advanced technology, and that is agriculture. Now, those of you who were with us last year probably saw the John Deere exhibit over in LVCC in South Hall, this massive connected harvester. But with 5G, thinking about massive IoT applications, you know, how much longer before this farming equipment becomes truly automated and self-driving? Probably not that much longer, maybe in a few years. What's more, thinking about these massive IoT applications, 5G will enable really squadrons of drones festooned with all kinds of different sensors that can fly over massive acreage of cultivation, looking for different things. Maybe it's plant disease, or in this case, maybe these red areas are where we need more moisture. And so instead of irrigating the entire crop field again, which wastes water, we can simply address the areas that need it most. That saves water, that's better for the environment, that reduces food costs. You get the idea. So it truly is really, as the slide says, enabling digital tools to solve this very real-world problem of food scarcity. Clearly we have a lot of hungry mouths to feed. But let me just go ahead and take it a step further and illustrate this point with a view of the 5G farm of the future. Again, agriculture is not a sector that we just readily attribute with advanced technology, but those technologies are here now, and they're getting even better and more powerful in the next couple of years. So take a look here. So as I mentioned, we've got connected sensors in the soil and in the sky, with the drone example I mentioned. We have connectivity on the ground and up in space. More, we have a lot of these automated farming robots, these advanced systems, plowing, tilling, harvesting, what have you, doing their thing. A lot of the data that's going to make this happen will be computed at the edge, but bigger chunks of that data that need further analysis will be uploaded to the cloud. And those chunks of data will come right back down to our connected farmer here. And what does the farmer have in front of him? He's got a lot of screens. And maybe one of those screens are futures prices. And because the connected farmer has all this advanced technology and his silos are intelligent and connected, with predictive analytics, he knows by the end of the week just how much grain he's going to be able to harvest. So today, he can commit to that maybe high futures price. That's pretty powerful. And so this is an illustration of, again, about digital tools helping to solve food scarcity, freeing the farmer's time in many ways from having to drive a tractor all day. That's what a lot of farmers have to do. That's the reality today, but that's going to change. That frees them up to do other things, maybe plan for the next crop, or even spend more time with their families. How about that?
That's right. And as we talk about connectivity and all the data that's being inputted, how are we understanding this data? Well, the next ingredient technology we'd like to talk